I watched them all the time. I think I watched Indiana State and Iowa, Caitlin Clark play about the same last year, so I watched a lot of basketball.
Five-time NBA champ Magic Johnson practically begged Caitlin Clark to seek some advice from Larry Legend.
And I think that he could give her great advice on how to handle this situation because he went through it himself.
And it's the refs, it's the commissioner of the league, it's some of the team owners. They are so stupid and so bad at their jobs in understanding what they have in Caitlin Clark, who is the face of the league.
Larry Bird could have just offered Caitlin Clark her own club, something the WNBA as a whole won't do. Yes, you heard correctly. Not a handshake, no pep talk, no endorsement contract, and no evasive, we're proud of you, bullshit. A whole group. Or, if you make the connection between Bird's most recent venomous tirade, Clark's behavior on the court, and the WNBA's utter failure to defend its one bright spot, that's what it sounds like.
He offered her some advice. He advised her to seek some advice from Indiana's own Larry Legend. Now, Larry Bird is easily regarded as one of the best NBA legends ever, so seeking advice from him wouldn't be a bad idea. Because just like Bird, Caitlin was not welcome to the big league with open arms.
Boom. More importantly, the league, the refs, you're going to let people take cheap shots like that over and over and over at the face of your league, the future of the league, the most important player in your league.
She's loud, persistent, and not content to remain quiet. She's tired of seeing her best friend and teammates the focus of bullshit, so she's exposing every bullying incident, embarrassing moment, and insane antics that have somehow remained concealed up until this point.
Marina Mabrey, who, if you don't know who that is, I've been watching the NBA for 2 years now? She's been on 32 different teams in 2 years. She cries, whines, leaves one team, goes to another, demands trade, shoots threes. She's an irrelevant journeyman. She runs up to Caitlin after the whistle, slams into her, knocks her down. Obvious ejection. An obvious ejection. Marina Mabrey, look in the mirror. The reason that you're going to have any money before the end of your career is number 2-2. Nobody even knew who you were or cared about you till she got in the league. So cheap shot her like that. What are you, dumb?
Yeah, I've read some of my DMs that are hidden, and I refuse to read a lot of them because I know people are upset, and so you kind of forget that there's these people behind the scenes until they come out of the woodwork and say I've been following along this whole time, and as we all know the Indiana Fever season started off as a total disaster, 1 win 8 brutal losses for any team that's nightmare territory, but for the Fever loaded with expectations it felt like a full-blown crisis. The pressure was crushing and doubts were everywhere. You could practically feel the tension suffocating the locker room, with everyone wondering how a team with so much promise could crumble so fast. Fans and players alike were consumed with one question: could they even bounce back from this mess? Lexi Hull, now a crucial part of the team's turnaround, didn't hold back when she talked about those days the locker room was in shambles. Exhaustion was the norm, both mentally and physically, with players constantly on edge and dangerously close to breaking. Yet, even with all the stress, there was this underlying feeling that they were better than what their record showed. It wasn't blind optimism, but a gut-level belief buried under layers of frustration.
I believe it's this entire class of WNBA draftees led by Caitlin Clark.
Yeah, call Larry Bird, ask him for advice. Indiana, he's already there.
You don't deserve this, Caitlin Clark. Please go play basketball somewhere else and let this league crumble, man. This is just ridiculous.
The team was in emotional turmoil after Hull revealed what happened behind closed doors, and every defeat was a gut punch. Players began to question whether they belonged in the league, whether their tactics were a joke, and whether their roles even made sense. The tension was so high that they were barely hanging on, with some players questioning whether it was worth it to keep going. The shocking thing is that the players never turned on one another. Even when it would have been easier to let their frustration tear them apart, they remained united.
Ratings go down 50% when she's not there. Ratings rocket through the roof when she is. Everybody has to watch these box office. If the refs are going to let people have open season on Caitlin, bump her, knock her down, throw her down, cheap shot her, it's time for the Fever to wake up like Sophie Cunningham did, say, enough is enough. You're going to do that. You hit us with the feather. We're going to hit you with the crowbar right now. brain. That's what we got to do.
They made the impossible choice to trust one another, and refused to point fingers. It was sheer stubborn determination that defied all logic, that unity, that refusal to break set the stage for the turnaround no one saw coming, proving just how far they could push through chaos when they stood together. And after that, the Indiana Fever's journey took a wild turn the moment Caitlin Clark declared for the WNBA draft that day. The sports world was practically short-circuited. Fans who'd already seen Clark tear it up on the college courts lost their collective minds when the Fever snagged the #1 pick. Suddenly social media went from barely whispering about the Fever to full-blown Fever pitch. Twitter, a frenzy of Clark to the Fever posts. Instagram, overflowing with fan art and celebration. And those preseason ticket sales that were once embarrassing, they skyrocketed like they'd been launched out of a cannon by the time Clark actually walked into the Fever's facilities. The team wasn't just getting attention, it was like a blockbuster movie. Premiere draft night on April 10, 2023, at Gainbridge Fieldhouse was packed with thousands of fans losing their minds just watching and Clark get selected on a screen. Fever pun, absolutely intended, had never been more real, and the air was humming as though someone turned on a stadium-sized amplifier. Explosion.
Caitlin Clark, please leave this league and let it crumble. Please, this league does not deserve you. All this hate from these black people, all this hate from these lesbians, these people in the media, just go play basketball somewhere else. Your fans will follow you. We will follow you wherever you go.
But let's get one thing straight, Clark's impact was more than her insane three-point range and game-dominating skills. Sure, she was already a human highlight reel, but the real magic was the energy she brought to the team. Lexi Hull couldn't stop talking about the seismic shift that happened when Clark arrived. Hull remembered how Clark strolled into her first practice, and it was like someone had plugged the entire team into a generator suddenly. Everyone was more alive, and it wasn't just her talent. It was her humor, the kind that had everyone laughing in minutes. No fork jokes, just effortless, genuine humor. Clark could somehow make a room full of stressed-out athletes feel like they were at a comedy club instead of bracing for drills. Yet Clark was dead serious about winning. Her competitiveness was legendary, and it didn't take long for the whole team to catch on. Hull described how Clark's insane will to win was contagious, spreading through the team like wildfire. Players who were dragging their feet and feeling demoralized suddenly found themselves fired up.
What's happening in WNBA is what happened when Magic and Bird went to the NBA.
I said from the very beginning, Caitlin Clark is Larry Bird with a... She plays that game. She's Michael Jordan in terms of her influence on moving the needle for this league. But her game is Larry Bird. And it's not just the shooting. You watch her for very long. Her passing is honestly as magnificent as her shooting. She makes the players around her better.
Then came the moments that demonstrated Clark was more than just a basketball savant. During a brutal practice, Coach Christsides turned up the volume to simulate crowd noise, and Clark was the only player who didn't mind. She yelled, "Can someone turn it off? It's giving me a migraine." The room fell silent, and no one spoke to Coach Sides like that. Hull described the collective breath everyone held in anticipation of some kind of explosive reaction, but when Clark repeated herself, the entire team erupted in laughter, instantly dispelling the tension. It was ridiculous, unexpected, and instantly became a legend in the history of the Fever.
You were immediately a better player if you were on the court with Larry Bird, because he would figure out what you could do, he could see what you couldn't do, and he would get you in a position to highlight and emphasize what you did well, and he would help you succeed in that.
When Hull first joined the WNBA, she was essentially invisible on the court for 2 seasons, averaging a dismal 12. In the meantime, Lexi Hull's transformation with the Indiana Fever is one of those stories you just can't ignore. It's like watching a movie where the underdog finally gets her big break. Her shooting percentage was a miserable 30%, and she only played 2 minutes each game. She was a college star at Stanford with back-to-back NCAA titles in 2021 and 2022, but the move to professional ball hit her like a freight train. It was all struggle and no glory, but then suddenly something changed, and Hull herself said it felt like she was in a dream she never wanted to wake up from. 7% is the kind of stat line that makes even the most devoted fans start wondering if she'd be better off as a motivational speaker rather than a player.
I've never seen nothing like this before in my life, where a player gets treated this way in sports, man. I've never seen nothing like this ever, man. This is just beyond wow. Like, I'm just beyond my threshold. You don't deserve this, man. You don't deserve it. Straight up. I get the intensity in games and you know, physicality, but this is just too much, man. It's just too much.
It wasn't just strategy, it was genuine belief, and when someone like Clark, a bona fide superstar, trusts you to deliver, you start playing like you actually can. Suddenly Hull was draining shots and playing with a level of confidence that made everyone wonder if this was the same player they'd almost written off. Fans who didn't even know her name before were now chanting it. Teammates were stunned watching Hull light up the court like she'd always belonged there. And then there's Clark's famous competitive fight fire, which is borderline terrifying. Hull would joke about how Clark couldn't even handle losing a scrimmage. Practices that used to feel like routine warm-ups turned into gladiator-style battles. Clark pushed herself and everyone around her, and before long her obsession with winning became infectious. Players were diving for loose balls like their lives depended on it, clawing for rebounds as if they were in the finals. The entire team had no choice but to level up. Every practice felt like a high-stakes showdown, and that relentless energy started paying off on game days.
Anybody that does something flagrant to this young lady for what she's brought to the game should be suspended and fined big time.
Clark, we gonna deal with this. Let's say you play till you're 40, you're 23. That's 17 more. We gonna deal with this for 17 more years? Bro, just Caitlin Clark, just leave. Go play basketball somewhere else, man. We will follow you. We will follow you wherever you go. Let this shit crumble to the ground, man.
WNBA basketball, where anything goes.
In the Fever's locker room, Hull frequently spoke about how every practice felt like a championship game with Clark around. The drills were hard and the scrimmages were more heated than ever, but there was a strange joy in the air. Clark made every moment count while making sure everyone was having fun too. This dual energy was crucial, lifting the team's spirit and making the grind feel worthwhile. But nowhere was it more evident than in Hull's incredible rise. Hull's resurgence wasn't just about her hard work, it was evidence of what can happen when a player's confidence is released. Clark's faith transformed Hull into the player everyone thought she could be. It's a testament to the power of support and a reminder of just how game-changing genuine belief can be.